Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Disrupt TV. This is our top 24 books of 2024. You're now in the green room. We normally introduce everybody in reverse order of how they're appearing, but what we're going to do this time is I'm just going to call out the names, and you're just going to say, hey, where I'm coming in from and what we're going to talk about today, and just the book title. So we'll start with you. Go ahead, Phaedra.
My name is Phaedra Boinodiers. The book title is AI for the Rest of Us, and I'm from North Carolina.
All right, go North Carolina. So, Alex, where are you coming in from?
I'm a co-author of The Venture Mindset. Here's the book. Thank you for having me here, guys. And I'm giving a call from Silicon Valley.
Excellent. Alyssa, is your co-author here as well? Alyssa, welcome.
Oh, thank you for being here. I know my co-author, Susan Brady, has been having some internet issues, so she will join us if she can. We penned the Inclusive Leaders Playbook, the work of the Inclusive Leader. And today I'm coming to you from Bodrum, Turkey.
Ooh, excellent. Thanks for joining in thus far. Elliot, welcome. Where are you coming in from? What are we talking about today?
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana today, where it's snowing and freezing cold. Yeah, I wrote a book called The Illusion of Innovation. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And Mark, where are you coming in from today?
I'm here in sunny Los Angeles, so quite different. And I penned Personalized Customer Strategy in the Age of AI. Excited to talk about it.
You know, this gets us thinking. Vala and I are like, maybe we should have a Disrupt TV event with all the authors, but we'll get to that later. But in the meantime, here with my amazing co-host, Vala Afshar, and a great producer, Elle. And of course, this is our last episode of the year, and we're so excited to have everyone here. So, Elle, ready for the count?
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on Disrupt TV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on X at Disrupt TV Show. Send Ray, myself, and our distinguished guests your questions live, and we'll answer them in the next hour. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He's the CEO, founder of Constellation Research. He's the best-selling author of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Ray's on TV every day. It seems like every time I watch TV, I see him on Fox Business, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, CNBC, and CNN. He's one of the top futurists to follow on X at RWA and G0. Welcome, Ray Wang, to the special edition and final episode of Disrupt TV for 2024.
Well, hey, thanks a lot. I'm with Vala Afshar, the Chief Digital Evangelist for Salesforce, my amazing co-host, co-producer, actually co-founder of this. And of course, he's the author of multiple books, including Boundless, which should be on this list, but we couldn't put it on the list, but we'll talk more about that later. And of course, this is a new mindset for unlimited business success. And of course, a #1 seller on Amazon as well. Executives around the world are paying attention to every one of his insightful and inspirational tweets when he's not tweeting or keynoting or showing up on TV or speaking at events at Salesforce. You can find Vala really everywhere, and of course, publishing his insights on ZDNet. So, but more importantly, it's not about us. We have some of the top authors of the year with us, Vala. How did we do all this?
Yeah, no. So we launched last year the list of books and authors that had the biggest impact on us and our audience. And we actually poll our audience, the folks that we go to to check how the book and the book thesis and the authors resonate with them. And anyway, so this is our second year of doing this. This year we had north of 75 books that we featured on our show. And because it's 2024, Ray and I chose to, Ray, myself, and our producer, Elle, chose 24 books to feature for 2024. And so today we're going to go over the list of 24 books. By the way, all 75 books were wonderful. Please, if you get a chance to look at our website, I highly recommend, because it is a curated list of folks we invite to Disrupt TV. So there's a little bit of a vetting process about the book and the person even before they come on the show. So all were fantastic, but these 24 had the biggest impact on Ray, myself, and our audience. And so we're going to go through the 24 list for 2024 of our top books. Some of the authors have been kind enough to join us. In fact, we have Phaedra Bonadoris, who's one of the co-authors with Beth Rudden. Both wrote the book AI for the Rest of Us. So, Phaedra, if you don't mind introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about the book, and maybe perhaps lessons learned after the book has come out and you've been able to engage with readers. But would love to have your overview of your book and call to action and lessons learned as a result of the book.
First of all, Beth and I are so deeply honored to be recognized in this way by you both and by Disrupt TV. It is truly our honor. The book AI for the Rest of Us, indeed, it was a labor of love. It's actually full of illustrated comics that I drew myself. And it was really meant to be a very accessible guide to demystify the subject of artificial intelligence, really by highlighting and underscoring how we desperately need it to be a far more inclusive and accessible conversation to far more different kinds of people. We really emphasized the importance of ethics and responsible development and thinking through what are the human values that we want to see reflected in technologies like AI. So it's been a year and a half since we published the book, which is like light years in the AI world. But I'll tell you, every single one of the themes which we hit upon in this book are so incredibly relevant now. I would say maybe even more relevant, because we're seeing an even larger interest in subjects like agentic AI. So having conversations about what does it mean to responsibly curate these technologies? What are the human principles, the safeguard rails in order to have these technologies better reflect our needs, I think is more appropriate and important than ever.
That's fantastic.
That's amazing. What changed since you published? So it's like an evergreen book. I now get the power dynamics. I know the power structures. I know how to actually create in a responsible way. So what's the big thing that changed?
Well, certainly we've seen, generative AI since the book hit has, of course, exploded across the scene, as I mentioned earlier now, and even growing interest in systems like agentic AI. I think also there's a growing understanding of the need for AI governance and the need for the right safeguard rails to be put in place. We're seeing this proliferate in more and more communities. I think as the press and groups like yours tell the stories about unintended harm, organizations who have the very best of intentions with respect to how they want to use artificial intelligence, but due to a lack of understanding or lack of the appropriate safeguard rails can unintendedly cause harm. The more people hear these stories, the more recognition there is that there's still work to be done. So I think that too is something that that I'm heartened by. And in particular, one of the last chapters that we cover in the book is the importance of education and really thinking about how should we be teaching the subject of AI in schools today, and how does it need to change? Because even today, if you're lucky enough to be able to take a class in the subject of data or AI, you're likely in a school of engineering or a school of computer science in a higher ed institution, not in a middle school or a high school in social studies class, which is actually where we really think we need to be focused on teaching some of the subjects that are referenced in the book.
Awesome.
Terrific. Peter, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on an amazing book, and we look forward to learning from you in the future.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for recognizing the book. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Book. It was awesome.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, and we met Beth Rodden, the co-author, through our mutual friend, Phil Kermani, one of the most innovative CIOs we know. So it was wonderful to meet Beth, and she's a big thinking, multiple patents, great innovator in the AI space. Welcome, Mark Abram. Thank you for coming back. Congratulations on Personalized, you and your co-author, David Edelman. Please tell us a little bit about your book, lessons learned, and what you hope the readers can take away from your incredible book, Personalized, Customer Strategy in the Age of AI.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. Being on your show was a highlight a few months ago when the book came out in October. And it's been an amazing journey, a very personal one, appropriately so for Personalized for me, because part of why we wrote this book is just seeing all those customer experiences around us where companies are using our data in a way that's frankly inaccurate or invasive. We did a lot of research with 23,000 consumers around the world, and 80% of them told us, we want personalization. We expect personalization because we see it in the best experiences we have. But 2/3 of them have also said they find in the last 30 days, they've had an inaccurate or invasive experience. And they've actually broken off relationships with brands as a result. So there's a lot to do still, even though personalization has been a buzzword for a long, long time and a dream of marketers for a long, long time. The great news is that now with AI and Gen AI, we can actually drive growth for the business and better customer experiences, not just take out inefficiency and cut costs. And personalization is the way to do it. So that's really the primary message of the book. I think another piece that's gotten great reception is it's so hard to measure personalization and where a brand truly stands. So a lot of our work in the book has been about creating a way for brands to measure where they are. We call it the Personalization Index. And there's a lot of insights about where the Personalization Index scores companies around the world. In fact, in every single industry, we have personalization leaders today, which is not the case even 5-10 years ago when we started doing this work and this research. And the other thing is there's a playbook for how to do it well. So we distilled it all in the book with the 5 promises of personalization, as we call it, with tons of stories from every iconic brand across industries featured there that's been a personalization leader, and taking those learnings to heart and posing some questions to ask yourself as you reflect over the holidays and into 2025 on things to do with your teams.
Such an important book. When I think about currencies that matter most in this hyper-connected, knowledge-sharing economy powered by AI, powered by agentic AI, speed, intelligence, scale, personalization, these are all, it's every business. And it goes beyond marketing. Obviously, every CMO should have this book on their desk. But if you're in experience design, if you're in customer experience management, if you're in business, you should really read this book. So congratulations on writing something that, in my humble opinion, should have 100% TAM. As long as you're in business, you want to read this book. So well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you. And I'm so glad you mentioned speed, because I think that's the one thing to do tomorrow. Look at with your teams, how long does it take you to put out a new personalized experience or campaign? And I guarantee you, most companies, it takes weeks and months, but it can take days with all the tools that are there and available now.
And this is why your book emphasizes operational excellence, unleashing creativity of your employees, giving folks autonomy, agency to be creative and to take action, and ultimately deliver value at the speed of need, which relevant value, hence personalized. So again, like super book.
Yeah, no, and what I really liked is the fact is, like, today, taking what's in your book, I think someone can write an algorithm to make it all happen. And the delight piece is the part which requires the human touch. And so if you put all that together, it's going to be very powerful. And I think your co-author, if I remember correctly, was the one who coined a segment of one.
Edelman is a
Right,
legend.
in 1989, he wrote the perspective, and now we're making it happen.
Yeah, Edelman is a goat. He's a goat. Yeah, he's definitely
AI. So,
yeah, it's been a fun journey over the last 10 years building our team at BCG here, bringing, helping brands with personalization.
So what's next? Will you be out somewhere else evangelizing? Any big events?
Yeah, obviously CES is coming up right after the
I'll be there.
So check us out there. We'd love to meet up with you, of course, as well as everyone else. Come to our booth. We've got a big BCG booth and lots of awesome events and a studio where we'll be producing content with our clients. So
terrific. Congratulations. Happy holidays. And thanks for expanding our minds. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you're at Davos, let us know too. We'll catch up.
We'll be there as well.
Oh, I'll see you at Davos. That's even better. Excellent.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
2025.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Cheers. Really good book. I mean, obviously, it goes without saying.
Oh, you and I are CRM nutheads. We love it.
No, I mean, we've been talking about personalization my entire career in tech, and
finally make it happen.
Well, because the technology is there to do that. Elliot, welcome back to DisrupTV. Congratulations on your book, Illusion of Innovation. So important because some folks are definitely have illusion of innovation, and some are actually innovating. Tell us a little bit about your book and what you hope the readers will get from reading your book, and lessons perhaps learned since the book came out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you both again. So the illusion of innovation is about why our large organizations, specifically corporations, are less capable of innovating than they once were. Why they're struggling more in the face of opportunity and challenge than they once did. We all have the sense that 80, 100 years ago, it seems like large companies, our institutions, governments, everything just seemed to be more capable of doing things faster, cheaper than they are now. And everything seems to get stuck in corporate goo these days and not get done. And the impact is that corporations are less innovative, actually, than they used to be.
Oh, yeah.
And the ironic reason why that is that they're better managed, and they're just optimized for the wrong things. They're optimized for safety and for capital efficiency, and those things don't allow for the innovation that we all need. And so the book explains what to do. In short, leaders need to invite more deliberate inefficiency into their systems, and that looks like running lots of fast, quick, cheap, weird experiments to be able to uncover insights that lead to innovation.
Yeah, and from the Federal Witness Protection Program to Amazon to even how the NBA experimented with the three-point shot. Lots of use cases, lots of examples of, where the reader is going to challenge dominant logic and rethink about innovation. And so really awesome book, great examples, easy to read, and you revealed maybe even some blind spots that us techies, innovators have as we read the book. So any lessons learned, any feedback from your readers? What are some thoughts? Since you brought the book to market.
It's been really fun. Book came out in April, so about 8-9 months ago. What's been really fun is people reaching out to me saying, I thought it was just me. Meaning I thought it was something I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
It turns out, no, it doesn't matter how smart or how capable you are. If you're inside a large organization trying to innovate, you're part of a system that is designed not to do that. And once you realize that you see the patterns, you're able to identify ways to get outside that system to go pursue the innovation that the organization needs.
Elliot, I think one of the most important things is, as tech companies middle age out, they have to figure out how to reinvent themselves, right? And given where AI is, I actually had your book sent to a couple of board members at at a company that it needs a lot of help, is going through a middle-aged life crisis, doesn't know what they're about to do next, can't figure out how to innovate, trying to do too many things at the same time and not succeeding in any of them. And I think they really learned a lot from it. So hopefully they give you a call and bring you in. But I think it's really, really
so
important.
we're your publicist and agent as well. We're not just podcast co-hosts.
That's great.
So, but, we'll catch up afterwards. But it's they really need that help, and I think part of it is it's really hard to get there because you're in operational mode and you're not able to build out that innovation team. So thank you so much for sharing your book and insights with us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Happy New Year. Cheers. Look, yeah.
Well, we really probably should write a book about the books that we talk about. Maybe we'll get there one day, Vala.
Yeah, I think we're so fortunate to be introduced to some of the biggest thinkers and change agents and educators. Elisa is no exception to that. Elisa Van Dam, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on your book with Susan McKenzie, The Inclusive Leaders Playbook. I attended a conference earlier this year, and I was exposed to the amazing community and folks that are trying to best exemplify and share the principles of inclusive leadership. Could you tell us a little bit about your book and, perhaps lessons learned from the community since the book was published? And again, congratulations. And
a little bit about the 6 actions.
Yes.
I'd be delighted. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I know Susan would have loved to have been here as well. So we wrote the book because we really wanted to help people understand what inclusive leadership is all about in a very practical, easy, action-oriented way. So this is a quick read. It's got a lot of questions. It's got a lot of ideas and things that you can put into practice around the 6 actions. So those 6 actions fall into 3 main categories. The first one is about becoming aware. How do I better understand the biases that I hold just because I was born a human being? How do I understand what my purpose is in being more inclusive? Why is that important to me? Because sometimes this can be hard, especially many of us in the DEIB space are really thinking about how do we make inclusion more inclusive, because in a weird way, some people feel that word has become distancing, and that's the last thing that we want. So what is my purpose? That's level 1, the first of the 2 actions of the 6. The next 2 actions are about becoming an ally and upstander. How do I support the people around me so that they feel a sense of belonging, so that they are able to really participate fully, so that they know that I have their back and I will stand up if there's a situation where I could say something that would be heard differently from how someone else might say it. How do I use that position to really support the folks around me? And then at the 3rd level, we're talking about making change. And that has one action around being a sponsor. How do you stand up when someone is not in the room and speak up for them and say, you know who'd be great for that opportunity? Or, you know who I think we should really be investing in? That's what sponsorship looks like. And then we have to look at systems. How do we hire people? How do we promote people? Who gets access to opportunities? There's a lot that is just kind of how we do stuff around here. But if you examine it, you can find ways that certain people get disadvantaged, and you can work to level the playing field, because ultimately all of these folks are in your organizations, and it's to your advantage for them to thrive and to really participate fully. And by being more inclusive and taking really simple everyday actions, you can make a huge difference.
That's fantastic. What an important topic. Obviously, the best leaders are inclusive leaders. Congratulations on your conference and all the work at the Institute of Inclusive Leadership. And please give our regards to Susan, your co-author. And we hope that we continue to learn from you. And again, congratulations on your brilliant book. Thank you so much.
It's a great toolkit.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. So, wow, look at this.
Wow, this is awesome. Alex, welcome back to Disrupt TV. Alex is used to winning awards, National Bestseller Award, Financial Times Business Book of the Month. This is just one of the so many trophies he has about his incredible book, The Venture Mindset. Tell us a little bit about the book, Alex, and share with us, additional wisdom and lessons learned since the book was published.
Totally, and thank you so much for inviting me back. It's always a pleasure to be back with two very smart people here. Even though we had received some awards, some of them are very hard to get, but I still believe that every single reader is so important. Every single award is just another kind of confirmation of what we're doing is important. And the book, I believe, is very important because we're surrounded by life-changing companies like Amazon, Google, NVIDIA now, OpenAI, and ChatGPT, obviously. These are transformational, amazing companies. However, we sometimes forget that they're backed once by venture capitalists. They somehow identified these talented teams and business models. And what we wanted with my co-author from Stanford learn is how do they make decisions? What is their secret sauce? How do they manage to identify these impressive ideas so early, at the very early stage? And what we learned, and when we looked at the 20-year of research, that there is a method to this madness. There is a way to equip all of us, all decision makers, corporate managers, as well as entrepreneurs, to identify the ways how to make smarter decisions to identify truly big ideas. So this is what we wrote in the book, the 9 principles, which may equip every decision maker to, we hope and believe, make smarter decisions specifically for an environment when there's so much uncertainty, when we do not know not just only about the interest rate and inflation rate, but whether we'll even have a job because of AI or not. All of those kind of problems, I think, is easier and smarter to address with a different mindset.
Yeah, there's a lot of dimensionality to your book. There's a lot of richness to your book. Some real common sense advice and some maybe not so common sense. Failure is not just an option, it's a necessity. The number one killer of innovation in traditional corporate environments. You should encourage dissent and be wary of consensus. So some of these are, they're not necessarily common points of view, but when you read your book, you realize this makes sense. This is how you disrupt. This is how you trailblaze. So very well written book, very easy to read, packed with evidence. Ray, your thoughts? Again, I thought it was one of the clear selections for us when we were thinking about impactful books for venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, business leaders, frankly, anyone who aspires to do big things. So congrats.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Alex, I think one of the things that it's probably not apparent to everybody is you guys are now being translated into 1 million different languages. Tell us about that and that experience.
That's right. That actually is, that keeps me busy because after we published it in May, we thought that that's the journey is over to some extent. And now we can just be ready to be recognized on the streets. But unfortunately, it's not the case. So our book is being translated to 6 languages. This week, we learned that it's translated into Chinese, Mandarin. It's already in Korean, in Kazakhstan. And what actually surprised me a lot, that now we're endorsed by people that we do not know personally. And sometimes we receive photos with some very nice remarks from these people, like presidents of countries. Joint Chief of Staff General Brown made a post about our book, highlighting the importance, especially in the AI age, to apply the mindset that Vala just described. So this is probably the pleasure of being a co-author, because you do not know where the next message will be coming from. And that makes me believe that the life of this book will last till for the 2025 for sure, and not just in other countries, but also in the US.
Well, we hope you were surprised to hear from us yesterday. Hopefully that was a surprise, but it wasn't a surprise for us as we were going through which books we wanted to highlight, and we hope
and you may imagine I cleaned up the whole day just to make sure that I'm dialing in to make sure that we can talk.
Thank you. Soon in the White House, I'm sure they'll be in the Doge group along with other folks. So we'll
so I can guarantee you that one company that is part of that Doge group, one of the founders was funded by VCs at some stage. So he understands the importance of this early stage funding.
Excellent.
very much.
Continued success to you. We look forward to your next book, and we hope that our paths cross again. Thank you for expanding our minds. Really.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Happy
for coming
holidays.
here.
Happy
Vala,
holidays.
it's so nice to have like the authors come in as a cameo, and we didn't give them a lot of time to come and jump.
We gave them a 12-hour notice. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The one thing, Al, you and I don't do is we don't really market our work, meaning we subscribe to the work should speak for itself. But in this case, I wish we had given the authors more than 12-hour notice.
We will do that in 2025 and definitely do it. But
Yeah.
I mean, so many great books. AI
that-
was a hot topic for the year, and definitely I think people were trying to get their hands around it, figure out what to do with it. I really enjoyed as well the AI playbook that came from Eric Siegel. I think that was a really good one. That was kind of a deep play, kind of figuring out how to actually build stuff.
Maybe we'll go through the list quickly, and we'll just alternate. We've had half a dozen of the authors here.
Yeah.
Eric was fantastic. Chris Deaver was one of my favorite authors that came on the show. He's just a good guy. Chris, first of all, his experience at Apple, his experience guiding some of the biggest companies in terms of design thinking principles. His book was called A Brave Together, and Lead by Design, Spark Creativity, Shape the Future with the Power of Co-Creation. And if you ever met Chris, he's a collaborator. He's a great listener. He's super smart, like crazy, scary smart.
Great. I actually had lunch with him
right after the show, if I recall, literally the weekend after the show. So he's just a good guy. And anyway, they're all great people. But we had a chance to.
Brave Together was great. And then Cryptomania from Andrew Chow was a freaking wild story. Yeah. I mean, that one to me was
Sam Bankman-Fried saga and the Crypto Bros. And of course, if you recall, from the time that Andrew got on the show, we saw Bitcoin go from 60 to 108 was the high a couple of days ago. So it's amazing. And there may be even an executive order that will speak to the importance of crypto to.
Yeah, if the Crypto Act passes, I mean, there's a certain percentage of the U.S. reserves that will be put into crypto, and we'll see where country-backed currencies, are going to go. It's going to be interesting to see country-backed cryptos pop into the market. So that's pretty wild.
No, it was incredible. Just because he was such a charming storyteller, was Huggy Rao, author of Friction Project. How smart leaders make the right things easier and the wrong things harder. What a great catch. What a great phrase. But Huggy had a warmth about his way of storytelling. He was very humble, very grateful. I mean, an incredible scholar and a big thinker. And when you read the book, his charismatic self is revealed in his writing. So the tonality of the book is exactly how I experienced him on the show. So anyway, really, really terrific. Him and his co-author with Friction Project. So
he had a
great book.
Great civility, just not only in the writing, but also in our interactions. And I think if you're going to talk about friction, you've got to have the other half, which is really the soft skills to kind of deliver on that.
It was like sitting around a campfire when I was listening to him. Like, it just made you, I don't know, there was a gravitational pull with Huggy. So he's just a great storyteller, and you can see that in his book. Paul Doherty, someone that you and I admire for years, former chief executive at Accenture. He had written Human and Machine several years ago, but given the revolution of generative AI, agentic AI, him and his co-author expanded on this new edition of Human and Machine. An amazing book, full of use cases, full of up-to-date use cases. Paul is one of the smartest people I know. I had the privilege of sharing a stage with him as we co-delivered a keynote in Mumbai, India, several years ago. So he's been the co-author of the Tech Vision Report, which will actually come out in January. First time with him, not as a co-author, but the last 7 were written by Paul. So extraordinary guy. Anything Paul writes, you should read. How's that for a stamp of approval? Right?
I think what they've been grappling with is really the conversation that we're all going to be grappling with in the next few years, is what is the role of human decision making, and where does that play? Your company, Val, we'll talk a little bit about this later, is talking about the digital labor and where it plays a role. And so when we talk about AI all the time, we tell our clients it's not about the automation, it's when and where do you insert a human. And I think this is a topic that's going to keep coming up again, as to where human decision making plays a role and where do we operate at machine scale. And I think Paul and Andrew Wilson were one of the first to start talking about that.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our other book, the next one, from Pascal Bornet, because that was also very interesting, Irreplaceable, because this is the other piece that humans are trying to grapple at the moment, which is really what makes us more human in the age of AI. So I don't know, what did you think, Paul, on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Pascal emphasized, again, the human-centric design when we're thinking about AI, but also what you can do as an individual to be irreplaceable. And there's a lot of fear and angst about, what does it mean when you can, have a cognitive download from the human labor force to a digital labor force where, the speed and the intelligence and the scale is at levels that frankly transcend human capabilities. Work by definition, simple definition is to, effort required to move an object a certain distance. And if the object is big, it's a lot of work. If the distance is long, it's a lot of work. So it's a function of what you're trying to achieve. But when it comes to intelligent software, you're not measuring really effort. It's really effortless. Once algorithm is defined, the system is running at machine scale. So this notion of 10x the outcome at 1/10 the cost will very quickly be 100x at 1/100th the cost, 1000x at 1/1000th the cost. It's far more significant than Moore's law because it's software. We don't have to deal with physics, not so much, unless you're doing smart robotics. But for the most part, it's software. So you're limited by your imagination and compute and your culture and your talent and your processes. But it is truly a boundless future. I don't mean to drop that word accidentally. So anyway, Pascal's thinking about how you can position yourself to be less likely to be replaced. And I would just say, in my experience, the easiest thing to replace is sameness. If you're doing what you're doing is the same as what you did last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, sameness is the perfect target for replacement. So you just need to think about doing things differently. And what that means is faster, smarter, more scalable, more personalized. We're just dealing at a machine scale, and we all need to be aware of it. And that does not mean, and Pascal highlights it, does not mean that the future is void of humans. It's just we need to operate like athletes. Sometimes when I watch a basketball player or a football player and they achieve an amazing catch or an amazing shot, I even catch myself saying, this guy is like a machine. Like he ran an ultra marathon and he does it every week. Like he's a machine. Often when we describe individuals that achieve peak performance, we have in our vernacular, it's like machine-like performance. Well, it turns out the world of business and our economy will demand us humans to achieve greater capabilities. So if you're mediocre in terms of what you do, better sameness or sameness, you're likely going to be replaced. You will not be irreplaceable.
Well, there are two things I really got out of the book that were interesting. I think we're going to be using these terms, AI obesity, when we load up or overload in on the AI, and the word humix, which is really the characteristics that humans actually have that will differentiate themselves compared to what AI can do. So we'll see what happens there.
Let's not bring up obesity during the holidays. You know how much I'm going to eat in the next 10 days. But okay, I'll go with that one.
Let's go to the next one.
I don't like it.
Leap. Let's go to the next one, Leaders Leap. So I think that's what it is.
Steve Dennis, author of Leaders Leap. This was an Amazon bestseller. Many of the books that are on the top 24 have had accolades from outside of Disrupt TV. No surprise to us. They're great books. So this book goes beyond the standard business playbook and teaches you really the secrets of creating a bolder, a faster, and so essentially transformation needed to avoid becoming irrelevant. So Pascal's book and Dennis's book, again, talks about how do you stay relevant. And this is a book about how you can leap beyond your competition and stay relevant. So there's solid strategies in the book, this narrative about team building, process and planning essentials. And Dennis has observed C-level executives for years in preparation for writing the book. So it is a courageous journey when you read the book. It does require self-reflection as you're reading it. There is level of personal accountability that's emphasized in the book, and growth, and really exposing the reader to, if there's ego defects, if there's blind spots, if there's confirmation biases, what are the things that hinder you from making that leap? And Dennis does a really good job of inventorying things we need to keep an eye on and watch out for. So it's a good book. When you read it, you'll end up reflecting on your style of leadership and maybe areas you can improve.
Got it. Going to the next one, I think Mastering AI. And I think Jeremy Kahn here did an amazing job. I mean, it was like reading, it was actually like experiencing a Fortune brainstorm tech event in a book, really talking about where that future was going to head in terms of AI's impact over the next decade. But I think the important piece was really thinking about what's actually happening to us. Is AI rewiring our brains? Is AI changing the way we actually think? And actually, what's it going to mean when AI is completely invasive in every part of the economy, just like the internet was, right? And I think he was taking that perspective only in a way that he can write, and he's a great writer. So it's one of my favorite books actually of the year that I probably will read again just to get some perspective as to what to look into 2025.
Yeah, it's a great thing, and maybe this is an unsolicited advice to our community. Like, it's okay to read a book a second time. I find that often I read between the sentences the second time that I maybe didn't do the first time. For me, I'm a slow reader. So for me, it's probably a second or third time where I read a page or a paragraph that resonated with me first time. And I realized, oh, gee, the big takeaway here I missed. So again, it's okay to read your favorite books a second time. And especially if you're like me, where you don't quite get it the first time.
So who's our friend who wrote this next book? We all know him.
Yeah, we're both fans or members of the fan club of Brian Stolas, author of Mindship, Transform Leadership, Drive Innovation. He emphasizes every company needs leaders who can spot and seize opportunities and be aware of moments of truth. The book talks about how you need to adopt to a post-industrial and AI-first world, find direction in uncertainty. So it gives you a little bit of sense of comfort that it's okay if it's a period of uncertainty. Spot and prioritize emerging trends is a key takeaway. Develop, spark, and embrace innovative ideas that create new value. So I think it's a book that's good for anyone who is seeking a better future, someone who wants to make an impact, someone who wants to reshape the modern business landscape, someone who wants to develop skills. So like you and I, our goal, the reason we do the show is to stay teachable.
Yep.
And it's for us to challenge assumptions starting with our own. And I think when you read Brian's book, it really speaks to the importance of a beginner's mindset, importance of challenging assumptions, and also, being someone who can be comfortable with long-term thinking. It's almost like train for a marathon, but be willing to run sprint. So it's mental toughness and fitness before physical fitness and toughness. So Mindship, again, great book. He's an 8-time best-selling author. Anytime he pens something, it does well because he's a deep thinker. So again, great book. Congratulations, Brian. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's more bestsellers coming out after Mindshift. So that's just how he rolls.
Wow, we've got 10 more to go through, Vala.
I know we gotta speed up the pace.
Actually, just last week we had George Comrades there, and I think it was an awesome lesson on leadership for us. Really trying to figure out, well, what are the tools on being a leader? I think we got decades of wisdom and experience that was put into this book, and I think some of these stories are amazing, especially when you hear about the early stories of how Akamai got founded and some of the challenges that they went through. It's just an amazing flashback view, but more importantly, there are some things that you learn about in leadership that you don't always get, and kind of the adversity that sometimes real leaders face without any playbooks that are available, because sometimes you just have to make the right judgment call.
George is an iconic leader, serves on the board of Oracle, presently the CEO, former chairman of Akamai. His book is every page. I challenge anybody to flip to any page in his book.
Easy to
read, nuggets of wisdom. It's an incredible book. And I know several of the executives at Akamai, and they look to George as a mentor, active sponsor, active mentor, and these are some of the best executives. We've had, Kim Jackson on our show, CMO at Akamai. She's an extraordinary CMO, and her and George are, fantastic thought leaders. Mark Minovich is our next author of the book, Our Planet Powered by AI. We know Mark. You and Mark co-hosted the first ever Chief AI Officer Summit, over a dozen AI offices in New York at the Harvard Club. Thanks to Perry Hewitt, who helped set that up. But Mark travels the world, advises boards. He's a venture capitalist, CEO. He's a Renaissance thinker, and in his book, it's how AI can enable business strategies and models and ecosystems for innovation and growth. He's extraordinary. He's extraordinarily generous with his time. He's a passionate keynote speaker, and his book was on the Amazon best-selling list for weeks. So, highly recommend.
Funny story. He just come on the show. The next week, I'm on a plane from New York to Zurich.
Davos.
I get a tap on the back on my shoulder, and it's Mark in the back, saying hello. And we literally took the flight over to Davos together, which was hilarious.
Yeah, it was amazing.
But yeah, amazing book. Lots of great insights. Definitely catch that book. And then I guess Possible. What was going on with Possible? That's a great book.
Possible.
William.
I need to get. I must have mine in different order. I have Mark Abram, which we spoke to. Rob Olcott, Proximity. Sorry, I don't have. William Ury.
He basically talked about this path to Possible, and I think once again, a lot of times when you're in an operational role, it's very hard for you to think outside of the world you're in, and I think basically his book was really trying to help people understand how conflict actually helps you get to a better result, and not having conflict. If you live in these passive aggressive, worlds here on the West Coast, you don't necessarily get that kind of conversation to get to an answer. And I think for me, what was powerful about Possible was the fact that it was kind of rewriting some of the methodology that people need to be able to actually get past any kind of battles or partisan divides or family feuds to finally get to some result that actually everybody can agree on, or at least people feel like there's like shared agreement. So I don't know what you thought, Vala.
Yeah. Accessible frameworks, powerful storytellings that were part of this book. If I recall,
he's a master negotiator. We should start with that. So,
yeah, he's the only author we had that had sold 15 million copies of his prior book. We've had, Professor. I forgot the economist who had 83 books that was on our show.
Jacques Attali.
Yeah. So yes. He had. So the most books by any given author was. Professor Attali.
In our waiting room, actually, just so you know, in the green room, we have the person that's written the most book reviews from Disrupt TV.
Yeah, let's do that, and let's go through the list. If you can just, we're gonna have to speed up the pace. Sorry, I keep having.
You take one, I'll take the other one. So let's start with proximity, and I'll jump into the next one. So,
welcome. Probably the person that knows most about the authors and the books we've been talking about. Gurvinder, thank you so much for joining. And before I go through the books, your thought on the few authors that were on the show and the overall 24 selection that we've been talking about. I don't want to wait to the end of the show before you weigh in.
No, I love it. Listen, am I audible? I was having some tech issues. Oh, perfect. Listen, I love the show. You know my routine. I listen to the show, I order the book, then I review the book. And I was going through your list, and I think I've done reviews for about 13 to 15 of them. So thank you for what you do every week. Keep it going. This really keeps our juices flowing and gets us to the best action that is out there from a thought leadership and real content perspective. So thank you.
What most people may not know, after every show, Ray, myself, and Gurvinder text each other back and forth, and we talk about what were the big takeaways. How does this guest relate to prior guests? Gurvinder is always generous to recommend guests for us to bring on the show. We hope that you continue to do that for 2025 because you had us at hello. We don't typically debate Gurvinder's recommendations, but without exception, every show, there's a back channel between us three talking about what we've learned. So you are an invaluable part of Disrupt TV.
So Gurvinder, my question to you real quick is, what themes do you feel like you saw this year? Like, what were the things that spoke to you that had the most impact in your work? Not necessarily the book, but the themes that were being pulled out. Oh, he might have frozen. We caught him.
Funny, I thought he was in deep thought.
I thought he was in deep thought. I think he froze.
I'm like, wow. He's
okay, you're back. Let's see.
Okay, so I think forget about the glitch. It all got real. No more theoretical knowledge, no more about what you can read in a book and it stays in the book. I felt a lot of things, whether it was it was about crypto or the real application of AI. I was watching launch of Agent Force 2.0. I mean, this is all getting real now. So I think it's about practical application. It's about how do you take this to your team, get them to work on it. It's all getting real. I mean, the amount of AI that I'm using personally is not a joke. In our team, we speak about what was the best and most unique hallucination that we saw. And there's one that happened with me yesterday where I was taking some help to do something. And out of the blue, the tool gave me a response. And the toughest part, it is 99% correct, but the problem is the 1% that is not, you don't know, right? So while scrolling through, I found that error, and we have this debate about it's all getting real now.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think you're right. It's the actionable stuff that's really interesting. It's becoming more actionable. And I think the writers are actually writing to I'd say just in time. I mean, as people are reading this, the frameworks are getting better. They're getting sharper. I think the way people are writing actually makes it a lot more actionable. But yeah,
and I think you make a good point.
Go ahead.
No, you make a good point that it's all getting real in the sense that I don't think I can wait for another quarter for something to happen. Gone are the days when I'll wait for another year. Oh, you did this now, let's wait for 12 more months. No, it's all happening real time. And I think from listening to these authors, I was lucky to meet with some of them in person. Thanks to Vala, thanks to you and Ray. It's all actionable insights.
Well, Gurvinder, I think it's about having a mindset that's a metaphor and an offering model. You need to go. I know you froze, but this is a mindset you got to go. This is book number 25 on the list. That wasn't on the list because we can't add our own books on the list. But this would have been tops of my
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
So I think an amazing book with Henry and
Listen,
Vala.
I love when I hear the word limitless workforce and limit. The entire premise of Boundless was to break down silos so you can unleash to limits, boundless limits. My book just came out too early and I did a shitty job of marketing it, but I'm telling you, there's some good stuff in there.
No,
there's a
it's
lot of good
amazing.
stuff. And be boundless if you want to rule the world.
Yeah.
Thank
no,
you.
It's,
Thank you. We'll take
no,
it.
really,
Hey, Gurvinder,
it is-
sorry we've got to rush you off. We've got 6 or 7 more books that we got to finish out. But thank you so much for being one of the biggest fans of the show and being there for us when we talk about Disrupt TV, and of course being just as passionate about books as we are. So
Thanks for having me.
You're more than a fan. You influence the show in more ways than we can articulate. So thank you. It's a privilege to have a CMO of $1 billion revenue plus company guiding us weekly.
Very quickly, I guess.
Yeah, multi-billion. Certainly on his watch, they're growing faster than any other firm in that space. Robert Walcott and Kaihan
yes.
Krippendorf, co-authors of Proximity, how common breakthroughs in just-in-time transform business, society, daily life. Deep book. It's what you ever wanted to know in terms of providing immediate, affordable, no matter how customized, minimum environmental impact, product, service, experiences on demand. So it's like just-in-time anything as a function of proximity.
What I was actually interested in this book was the fact that they took all these futurist things and made it real by tying it back to existing processes or models, right? Like, here's what it means for a policy. Here's what it means for supply chains, right? And I think that was pretty powerful. So.
Yeah. Really emphasized the thesis around proximity. Super privileged to have the #1 management thinker on Thinkers 50 on the show this year, Amy Edmondson, author of Right Kind of Wrong, The Science of Failing Well. You find that a lot of these authors who are super innovative and consult and guide innovative companies, individuals, they embrace failure as part of the learning process. So this was her book. Amy's book was winner of the Financial Times and Schroeder's Business Book of the Year. So an incredible book. It's go ahead.
Oh, good. Yeah, go ahead.
No, a revolutionary guide to transform your relationships with failure. And it's research-based findings, obviously academic at Harvard. This is after decades of award-winning research, appending our understanding of failure and making it work for us. So the right kind of wrong is essentially what she referenced when she was on the show.
I was mentoring someone the other day, and I think this interesting notion of failure was brought up as a topic. But I think the main point of this book is you'll never look at failure the same way again. And I think a lot of folks are so afraid to fail, especially in a world of social media where everything is out there. But I think you need to fail fabulously. And I think that people end up doing really well, because if you fail fabulously, it forces you to learn faster than you ever will before.
Absolutely. Our next author, Raveen Jasuthasan, co-author of the Skill-Powered Organization's Journey to the Next Generation of the Enterprise. How do you design, how do you activate the skills-based enterprise and pivot and navigate to what's next? And again, as Gurvinder mentioned, the cycle from ideation to product to customer use and next, 2.0 version, as we are finding in my company, is now measured in weeks and months. So the Skill Power Organization was an important, powerful book on how to be positioned to do the right thing at the right time.
This book and the concept of digital labor are going to be very profound, because this is about a book about work without jobs. And I think when we start thinking about skills get aggregated to agents get aggregated to workflows get aggregated to decision trees, and decision trees start to get automated. It's going to be very interesting. And so it's something to look at if people really want to go deep in understanding how skills and agents are going to come together.
Yeah, for sure. Rebecca Holmes, author of Survive, Rest, Thrive, Leading Breakthrough Growth Strategy in Volatile Times. She emphasizes, look, uncertainty is here. And in order for you to overcome obstacles, to integrate your strategic approach and invigorate your high growth potential. And that's how you're going to outperform your competitor. So she talks about strategy. It's about making choices around where to play and where not to play. So keep your to-do list, but also keep your to-don't list. It's a strong book about how you can survive, reset, and thrive as a leader, and well written, easy to read.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting piece or strategy has always been about what you don't do, but I think this book did something different. I think it's really about trying to aggregate that portfolio in your head in a way that most organizations can't think at this level. And what really she does is take, I think the use cases that she put in the book really helps you see things from angles you might not have before. There's lots of strategy books out there, but Rebecca Homke's book is very interesting. So
our next author
who is this guy? I have no idea who he is.
He's one of my favorite people. I think I really started to love his work with Art of Enchantment, which is a book he wrote maybe more than 12 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to talk about the prior book, but Art of Enchantment is a must read. Maybe, definitely a must read. His new book, Think Remarkable, Guy Kawasaki, 9 Paths to Transform Your Life and Make a Difference. When I first met Guy, by the way, the first podcast I ever did was in 2013, and he was my first guest. So believe it or not, my first guest ever, and I've been podcasting for 11 years, was Guy Kawasaki. And what I didn't know at the time was, because this was 2013, that 2 years later, I was going to accept a job at Salesforce as their first evangelist. And Guy was the only evangelist I knew in 2013 and the only evangelist I knew in 2015. So I had no idea that my career path was going to, in some way, align with his role when he was an evangelist in the mid-'80s, bringing the Apple II to market, working directly for Jobs. And of course, I had no idea that the founder of Salesforce, Mark Benioff's first job as an intern at Apple was working for Guy Kawasaki. So the intersections of first podcast guests taking an evangelist role and working for a company that was founded by a guy that was an intern and his first job was to work for Guy, that's just an amazing backstory. Now,
and it was even more cool watching Vala tell that story to Guy at my conference.
I said that to, because I stood in front of him and I said, you have no idea, I accepted the role to join Salesforce because of you.
And the look on his face was priceless.
Yeah, it's like he's extraordinary. Anyway, I can't say enough about the book. This is a book about life, how you lead a recommendable life. This isn't a business book, tech book, innovation book. Yes, it's all of that. But this is your guide to living a recommendable life. Read it. You don't have to apply all 9 principles, but if you can apply at least 3, 4, 5 of them, you're in a good place. Apply all 9 of them, magical doors are going to open for you. Anything you want to add for an extraordinary person that we got to meet in person thanks to your conference?
No, I think he's Guy's guy. He's amazing, and I'm glad that he keeps pushing out his thoughts and sharing with the world. So I think it's very important.
Eileen Lynn Herring was the next guest on Learning Silence. And what I remember most with Eileen was like, have the courage to say something, but speak up. If and she talked about her own experience of having to learn to take a quiet demeanor and actually say something when it mattered. So a paradigm shifting book looking at, pervasive influence of silence and how we can begin to dismantle it being silenced so that we can find our voice, not just at work, but at home, in our neighborhoods, in our communities. Very courageous book. And it ultimately reminds us that use your voice when it matters, do it gracefully, do it purposefully, and doors will open for you.
Yeah, and I think this is an important book because we often celebrate leaders that are extroverts and that are out there. And so if you read Quiet from Susan Cain and you wanted to know how to put this into place, I think unlearning silence is also very useful because it's not just about speaking up. It's about speaking up sometimes when you have very disparate views from everyone else and knowing when to speak up and how to do it in an effective way. So an amazing book for folks, especially when you're trying to understand different styles of leadership.
As an introvert, I enjoyed it. Terrence Murray, author of, he laughed when I say introvert. I am an introvert.
No one believes you and I are introverts, so this is the challenge.
You definitely, I can see why they don't, but me, I don't understand. I am an introvert. Terrence Murray, Upside of Disruption, the path to leading and thriving in the unknown. Terrence explains why so many of us continuously overestimate the risks of bold decisions while underestimating the downside of standing still. He talked about, good leaders learn, but great leaders unlearn. And unlearning and relearning is super hard. And how the key to unlocking culture of courage over conformity is so important. So discover why not taking the biggest risks can ultimately end up being the biggest risk in terms of your continuous growth and success. Terrence also has a fantastic social media presence.
Yeah.
I see Terrence active on LinkedIn. I see him on X. Of all the authors, there's a common thread. They're all very generous, very accessible. But I have to tell you, I notice Terrence on a daily basis encouraging, amplifying, and engaging folks on multiple platforms. So he really puts his money where his mouth is in terms of being an educator, being an academic, being an author who's willing to help you go through this journey of disruption. So I give him a lot of credit for his generosity and accessibility.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the unlearning muscle is the one we all have to figure out. And I think even in AI, we're going to have to do that as well. Unlearning is one of the most difficult things you can do. I know I said this in the past. One of the large cloud vendors by accidentally sucked in data that wasn't theirs, and they spent billions trying to figure out how to unlearn. Right. And it's a skill that not just humans will be using, machines and AI are going to be doing a lot of that as well.
We've concluded 24 books, top DisrupTV books.
25 if you count this one.
What are you talking about? We're all standing on the shoulder of giants.
Yeah.
Look, I'm at my cake house and I have this. I travel the globe with this in my briefcase. So it's like my American Express card and your book. I don't ever leave home without it. We're past the hour. I had full intentions of using our final show to ask you questions about the year and going forward, but at respect of our audience, we're tuning in. Frankly, the last holiday before our, Christmas, Hanukkah.
I'll be listening to this in between meals and, family discussions and debates, sneaking out to hear a little bit more of the insights and figure out what books they should be, doing last minute Christmas shopping with.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, these 24 books should give you a fantastic hint as to what books you should consider for Christmas gifts. Sincere, and I don't want to be apologetic about it, but there are 50 plus books that didn't make our list, but that doesn't mean they're not amazing books. How you connect to Ray and I and Elle in a personal way based on our experiences, based on the work that we're doing. These 24 books happen to connect with us most. But that does not mean that the work of the other authors that have been on the show have not been stellar, brilliant, and also life-changing for Ray, myself, and Elle. So, please continue to recommend authors. 2025 means maybe 25 top books of 2025. So we actually have room for one more next year. But at the rate of having 75 to 100 books that we're going to feature, we may still not be able to celebrate all authors, but you're all amazing. Ray, closing thoughts on 2024. By the way, if anybody's keeping count, I don't think anybody is. We've interviewed 1,315 guests since the inception of Disrupt. In February, we'll have our 9th year. So 2015, Ray and I and Elle decided to put the show together, but our first episode was February of 2016. So our 9th year anniversary is February, 2 months from now. And we'll continue to feature numerous books every year and authors. Your closing remarks, Freddie?
I just want to thank all the guests that came up here, not just the authors. I think it's really important. We are a forum to share with folks. One of these days, we may turn that into a conference, an event, given the interest and what people think about. I think it's really important that, if you're a CEO of a major company, if you're a startup founder, if you are an author, if you're in public office and want to share a policy point of view, if you're a leader in your own right, please ask to get on the show. We definitely consider everyone, and we theme those up. Our awesome producer, Elle, makes it all happen. And I think more importantly, 2025 is, if anything, looks like it's going to be even more exciting than 2024. It definitely won't be boring. And I think we're going to see a massive amounts of change. And more importantly, a lot of innovation that's going to accelerate, because we've had 4 years of stagnation, 8 years of trying to figure out where we're going to be with a new technology, and about 50 years of AI trying to unleash itself. And, we're going to see a lot of AI being put in, but we're not going to hear about AI. We're going to just see the impact and feel the impact. And I think it's going to be very exciting in that way. So, Vala, any thoughts? And we're out of here.
I'm grateful for you. But happy birthday. Ray just celebrated his birthday. Happy birthday. Yeah, we're both December
babies.
We're both December. I'm grateful for Elle, world-class producer. Believe you me, 95% of the work behind DisrupTV is Elle. The other 4% is Ray, and I do about 1%. So I'm grateful for you and Elle. I'm grateful for our community. I'm grateful for our guests. Let's keep 2025 a year of gratitude, a year of grace, a year of humility. You're now an elected official, so you're in the business of consensus building and community building, and making sure your constituents are thriving and have a prosperous, safe, healthy life. And so as parents, proud parents of digital natives who are entering this uncertain world where the pace of innovation is unlike anything in our lifetime, we, the elders, need to set an example and to demonstrate what it means to live a recommendable life. So I'm grateful for all of you, because you constantly remind me that we can't drift away from our core values, and we need to be examples. And it's got to be more than words. It's got to be more than thoughts. It's got to be our actions. And the 1,300 interviews and the nearly 400 episodes that we've had hopefully demonstrate that Elle, Ray, and myself, we're not here to be antagonistic. We're not here to debate and create conflict and introduce drama and friction. We're just here to learn and to grow together. And hopefully that's going to continue to be the theme for all of us, beyond just the episode and what we do 1 hour a week here, but how we live our lives. So thank you for inspiring us to be better versions of ourselves. Happy holidays. If it's Friday, it's Disrupt TV. Not for the next 2 weeks, but we will see you in early January as we launch the new year with you. So happy holidays, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.